Witnessing someone's final moments before tragedy strikes is something that never leaves you. It makes you realize just how fragile life really is, and how any ordinary day could suddenly become your last. Today we're looking at 5 horrifying incidents that were all caught on camera. This first incident happened on August 5, 2017 in Umlazi, South Africa. Now, if you're not familiar with Umlazi, it's one of the largest townships in the country, known for its vibrant culture and tight-knit community. One of the biggest draws for locals, bodybuilding competitions held at a community hall. These events would pack in spectators eager to watch athletes show off years of dedication and hard work. On that particular day, around 100 people filled the hall, ready to witness some incredible displays of strength. Among the competitors was 23-year-old Sifiso Lungelo Thabete, a rising star in the bodybuilding world. Despite his young age, Sifiso had already made a name for himself. Earlier that year, he'd won the Junior World Championship with the International Federation of Bodybuilding and Fitness. The guy was talented, he was in peak condition, and he had a bright future ahead of him. The atmosphere in the hall that day was electric. The crowd was chanting, shouting, absolutely pumped to see these athletes perform. But unfortunately, what should have been a celebration of strength and dedication turned into an absolute tragedy, all captured on video that would soon shock the entire world. When Sifiso walked out, the crowd went wild. He had this confident stride, wearing his signature black trunks and flashing his dazzling smile. The cheers were deafening, and Sifiso, being the showman he was, decided to kick things up a notch. He'd performed backflips before without any issues, so he figured, why not give the crowd something extra special? He ran toward the center of the hall, greeting the crowd as he went. Then, without hesitation, he crouched down, swung his arms to gain momentum, and launched into the flip. But the moment he left the ground, everyone watching could tell something was horribly wrong.
In overseas, since you know our country, they don't support us. That's why we are appealing to all of you guys. Let them have high!
His rotation was too slow. Instead of completing the backflip and landing on his feet, Sifiso crashed down directly onto his neck. The cheering instantly stopped. Dead silence. People rushed to help, but it was immediately clear that he was seriously hurt. Sifiso lay there on his back, unconscious. Despite being rushed to the hospital, the injuries were just too severe. He'd broken his neck from the failed flip. Tragically, he passed away later that same day. His death sent shockwaves through not just the local community, but the entire bodybuilding world. A promising young talent, gone in an instant, all because of an unnecessary stunt done purely for entertainment. His funeral took place a week later, with countless local bodybuilders showing up to pay their respects to an athlete taken far too soon. The next chilling footage was recorded on May 23, 2021 in Italy on Mount Materone. This is an absolutely beautiful location situated between 2 lakes. To get up and down the mountain, there was a cable car that connected the town of Stresa with the summit at 1,492 meters above sea level. The ride wasn't just transportation, it was an experience. Passengers got treated to breathtaking views of nearby lakes, alpine peaks, and lush forested hills. On that spring day, inside a cable car cabin designed to carry 47 passengers, there were only 15 people. Among them were families, tourists, and hiking enthusiasts, all enjoying what seemed like a calm, peaceful ride to the summit. They boarded the cabin, it began lifting them up the mountain, and passengers started taking out their phones to record the beautiful scenery. Everything appeared perfectly normal. Surveillance footage from the upper station shows the cabin approaching the final stop, smoothly gliding to within just 5 meters of the platform. And then, without any warning whatsoever, a loud hissing sound rang out, followed by a sharp metallic crack. The main traction cable snapped, leaving the cabin completely unsecured. The footage shows a violent jolt as the cabin suddenly began rolling backward down the steep mountainside. Now, normally in situations like this, the cable car's safety brake should automatically engage within seconds, securing the cabin in place. But that day, the brake didn't engage. The cabin started rolling slowly at first, but within moments it picked up terrifying speed and disappeared from the surveillance cameras, racing down the slope. An absolute nightmare was unfolding. The cabin accelerated completely out of control until it ended in a fatal collision with a support pillar. The impact tore the cabin away from the last cable and it plunged 55 meters straight down, thundering down the rocky slope before crashing into trees. The force of the impact was unimaginable. When rescuers rushed to the scene, most of the passengers were already dead. 13 people died on impact from horrific injuries. Debris and glass were scattered across the mountainside. One person was thrown from the cabin and killed instantly. Miraculously, 2 children were pulled alive from beneath the wreckage and flown by helicopter to the nearest hospital. Despite doctors' desperate attempts to save them, one of the children later died, bringing the death toll to 14 people. The only survivor was a 5-year-old boy named Eitan Biran. He was found barely alive among the wreckage, the only member of his family to survive, instantly orphaned. Out of 15 people, only 1 remained alive. At first, it appeared the cable had simply snapped near the support pillar, but investigators soon uncovered shocking details. Based on photographs from the crash site, experts determined that at least one of the emergency brakes had been deliberately disabled. A steel clamp had been installed on the brake, a device normally used during maintenance work. This clamp prevented the emergency brake from functioning. If those brakes had been operational, they would have secured the cabin when the cable snapped, preventing the deaths of 14 people. 3 days later, on May 26, 2021, 3 employees of the cable car company were arrested for disabling the emergency brake. The investigation revealed that the braking system hadn't been working properly for quite some time. It would activate spontaneously due to a hydraulic oil leak, causing the cable car to stop mid-route, which led to financial losses for the company. Instead of fixing the actual problem, the employees made a reckless decision. They just disabled the entire braking system and installed the clamp so the cable car could keep operating without interruptions. All of this was done instead of simply repairing the oil leak causing the brake failures. This entire accident was essentially a disaster waiting to happen. By May 30th, 2021, all 3 employees had been released from prison. 2 were found not guilty, and the 3rd was sentenced to only 6 months of house arrest. The next video was filmed on June 8, 2013 in the quiet village of Hollingull, located in Norfolk, England. It was an ordinary summer day, and 38-year-old David Holmes had just attended a bikers gathering in Kings Lynn, a popular meeting spot for motorcycle enthusiasts in the region. These gatherings were all about showing off impressive bikes, sharing experiences, and just enjoying the thrill of the ride. David was known among his friends and family for 2 things: his absolute passion for motorcycles and his love of speed. He'd been riding for years and considered himself very experienced. To capture the thrill of these rides, David would mount a camera on his helmet, recording everything from a first-person perspective. That day, after spending time at the gathering, David decided to head home on his silver Yamaha, traveling along the A47 highway. Now, this motorcycle was seriously powerful, capable of reaching speeds up to 250 kilometers per hour. And as you can see in the helmet cam footage, David was absolutely pushing it to the limit. He was speeding, overtaking vehicles left and right, just living for that adrenaline rush. His friends and family knew about David's need for speed, and it worried them constantly. They knew that at those velocities, a single wrong move by him or another driver could lead to catastrophic consequences. And unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. As David was riding along the A47, one of the busiest roads in Norfolk, his speedometer showed more than 160 kilometers per hour on a public road. This is completely unacceptable and way beyond the 100 kilometers per hour speed limit. And then, as often happens in videos like this, tragedy struck suddenly and violently. What happened next was fully captured by David's helmet camera. He was cruising along when suddenly, a Renault Clio driven by 69-year-old Benjamin Austin turned right directly in front of him. At that moment, David was traveling at approximately 150 kilometers per hour. He had zero time to react or maneuver. In the blink of an eye, he slammed into the front of the Clio, absolutely destroying both the motorcycle and the car. The impact hurled him into the air and he landed in nearby bushes. The force of the collision was such that no person could have survived. David hit the ground and sustained severe internal injuries, breaking his neck and back. When ambulances arrived, they pronounced his death right there on the roadside. What's truly terrifying is that he recorded his own death on camera. When police reviewed the footage later, the full picture became clear. David's excessive speed showed a complete disregard for his own safety and the safety of everyone else on that road. Now, Benjamin Austin claimed he didn't see David approaching at all. However, witnesses driving behind Benjamin's car said they had seen David coming from far away for quite some time. According to their testimonies, David was visible for at least 7 seconds before Benjamin made that turn. A year after the accident, Benjamin Austin appeared in court and expressed deep remorse. He pleaded guilty to causing death by negligence, admitting he didn't see David. The court acknowledged the tragic nature of what happened, but emphasized that David's excessive speed was a major contributing factor. Benjamin was sentenced to 12 months of community service and an 18-month driving ban. After David's death, his mother, Brenda Holmes, turned her grief into a mission. She made the incredibly difficult decision to release the final moments of her son's life, believing the footage could serve as a warning to others about the dangers of speeding. The video went viral almost immediately, racking up over 20 million views on social media. If there's anything to take away from this case, it's simple but crucial. Pay attention behind the wheel. Don't speed, because one mistake is all it takes for tragedy to strike. And stay alert to all other drivers on the road, because you might be the best driver in the world, but that doesn't eliminate the mistakes others can make. Dash cams often accidentally capture some of the craziest moments that end up on the internet. From near-miss collisions to full-scale disasters, they record it all. However, footage like what we're about to look at next isn't commonly seen. This video comes from northern Vietnam, dated September 9, 2024. On that day, Vietnam was still being hammered by Typhoon Yagi, one of the most powerful storms to hit the region in recent decades. Before striking Vietnam, Yagi had already left a trail of destruction across Southeast Asia, claiming dozens of lives in the Philippines and surrounding areas. At its peak, Yagi was classified as a super typhoon equivalent to a Category 5 storm, with sustained winds of 260 kilometers per hour. It brought torrential rains and widespread flooding. When the typhoon struck northern Vietnam 2 days earlier, powerful winds triggered landslides and flash floods, forcing 50,000 people to evacuate their homes. Rivers overflowed, flooding homes, farmland, and infrastructure. After all this, many people believed and hoped the worst was over, but nature wasn't finished yet. Heavy rains continued, pushing the Red River to its limits. This river flows from Yunnan province in China through all of northern Vietnam. In Phong Chau, a bridge stretched across the river, serving as a crucial transportation hub. This bridge was completed on July 28, 1995, measured 375 meters in length, and served as a vital artery for local transportation. Every day, more than 10,000 vehicles crossed it. But on that fateful day, as rain continued to rage, local residents went about their daily business, crossing the bridge completely unaware of the approaching danger. As people were crossing, completely unexpectedly, catastrophe struck at around 10 a.m. Everything was captured on a dash cam. Vehicles were moving across the bridge when suddenly the central section just collapsed. Concrete and steel twisted, and the structure fell into the raging river below. Those who were on the bridge at that moment had absolutely no chance to react. When the bridge collapsed, 10 vehicles fell with it, including a truck, 2 trailers, 6 motorcycles, and a person on an electric bicycle. Rescue teams and emergency services immediately arrived and began operations to save those who'd ended up in the water before they could be swept away by the current. Initially, 13 people were listed as missing. Divers and rescue boats struggled against the powerful current in water filled with debris and wreckage. Within several hours, 3 survivors were pulled from the water. One motorcyclist who managed to survive later described what happened as an encounter with death. Search and rescue operations continued, but by September 23rd, only 3 bodies had been recovered from the river. 7 people are still listed as missing to this day. By the time Typhoon Yagi finally weakened, the damage was assessed at around 80 trillion Vietnamese dong, equivalent to $3 billion US. The storm claimed the lives of 322 people in Vietnam alone, making it the deadliest storm since Typhoon Linda in 1997, which killed 3,000 people. After the tragedy, the local government announced plans to rebuild the bridge. The project, costing $26 million, involves constructing a larger, stronger, and more resilient bridge that locals hope will prevent such horrific tragedies from happening again. The next shocking footage was recorded on February 27, 2024 in Hawaii on the Na Pali coast. This location is famous for its jagged cliffs, emerald valleys, and turquoise waters stretching for 30 kilometers along the island. It attracts adventure seekers and tourists from all over the world. Hidden along this coastline is Honopu Beach, a secluded paradise rarely seen by outsiders. Unlike more accessible beaches, Honopu is virtually closed off. There are no roads, no trails, and no easy ways to get there. The only way to see it is from the air or during sanctioned boat tours. Even kayaking or swimming to the location is strictly prohibited. Because of this, helicopter tours became the preferred option for those seeking a luxury experience. For around $350, passengers could soar above the island's waters, cliffs, and secret beaches, seeing parts of the island most people could only dream of. On that particular February day, the weather was perfect. Clear sky, calm wind, warm sunlight, ideal conditions for a flight. As planned, 4 passengers and a pilot boarded a Jack Harder tour helicopter, and within minutes they were soaring high above the island, filming views that seemed almost unreal. It was incredibly beautiful, everything seemed perfect, but then, unexpectedly, the helicopter's engine failed. The sudden loss of power caused the helicopter to enter auto-rotation, a controlled but rapid descent. Although the rotor blades continued spinning, they slowed significantly, and the helicopter began losing altitude quickly. The pilot acted decisively, aiming for Honopu Beach, the nearest open stretch of land. As the helicopter descended toward the beach, seconds felt like an eternity. The footage shows it approaching rapidly, and at that moment it became clear to everyone they were going down. The passengers could only hope for the best. They were completely helpless, unable to influence the situation in any way. You can only imagine the absolute terror on board as everyone braced for impact. Then, approximately 25 seconds after the engine failure, the helicopter made a hard landing on the sand and the recording cuts off. Distress signals were sent almost immediately, and rescue helicopters along with boats rushed to the crash site expecting the worst. But when they arrived, fortunately, despite the intensity of the descent, everyone on board had survived. Yes, sometimes frightening footage doesn't always mean death. We can look at fortunate outcomes too. Only 1 passenger suffered a back injury and was transported to a local hospital by medical helicopter. The 3 other passengers and the pilot were rescued by another Jack Harder helicopter. And honestly, I can't even imagine what was going through their minds boarding another helicopter from the same company immediately after that crash.